How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to my next entry in the series of videos highlighting the participants of CT Mass Battle 2. Today we're going to be talking about Tnatchie, a Bison player, invited on the Connecticut side of the bracket, and a semi-regular participant at Next Level Battle Circuit, although if you talk to him he might tell you he's more of an online warrior. But I have in front of me some of his more recent NLBC placements. He won NLBC 159, he only dropped a set to Sabin. Took 7th in NLBC 158, dropping a set to Shine and to Lex. And he took 9th and 13th at NLBCs 161 and 160, respectively. Like the rest of the videos in this series, we're going to be looking at a set that he wins as a baseline and try to discern what it looks like when Tnatchie's on and when he's winning. And we're going to look at a set where he loses and try to make sense of that. What we're going to do about this series, though, for Tnatchie is between NLBC's 158 and 159, Tnatchie plays 2 sets with Lex. He loses in NLBC 158, and he wins in NLBC 159 to go on to win the tournament. So we're going to look at the winner's final set of NLBC 159 to get our baseline, and then we're going to compare his performance at 158 versus 159 in both of his sets against Lex, and try to make sense of what the adjustments were that may have been made, and try to see the difference in the approach to that matchup and that character matchup, and see what that might mean for examining Tnatchie as a player. So without further ado, we are good to jump in here for NLBC 159, our first match, the winner's final set of Tnatchie and Master Mike. Fang, not a character I'm super intimately familiar with, but I know he's got a lot of tricky stuff. The commentators here allude to they have a belief that Bison would win the matchup, but I couldn't rightly say myself. Master Mike, and if I'm not mistaken, I've watched this set a couple of times. If I'm not mistaken, Tnatchie spends a lot of this set in the corner, just kind of getting mauled here. What he does do very effectively is, first and foremost, he blocks these cross-up mix-ups really well. I think he only gets hit by one of them in the whole tournament. No, gets hit with the instant overhead. So that's obviously a really big round for Master Mike. And the extended poison damage is going to lead to something that I'm going to come back to a little bit later. I'm going to set this up and it's going to pay off a little bit. Is one of the things that I like about Tnatchie is I feel like when I'm watching his play and he's winning, he's very patient and very willing to sit on a lead and very willing to take comparatively minimal risks. There's a couple of moments in some of the games that we're going to look at where Tnatchie ends up being super content to just sit full screen and basically EX head stomp on reaction to them doing anything too committal, and otherwise just sit full screen and make them come to him if he's sitting on a lead. One of the things that ends up being interesting about that with respect to a Fang matchup is if he's poisoned, he's not necessarily in the position to sit on that for very long, because obviously the longer that he's playing patiently and not getting rid of this poison, the more it's going to come back and bite him. Yeah, that instant overhead was nuts. I hadn't realized Fang's crazy mix-up potential until comparatively recently. Burns the bar to get out. Plus frames, bites after the frame trap after that crouching jab. Another good frame trap on that crouching strong. Bison bread and butter, right? Yep. Gets that standing medium kick, the sit the hell down button, as I like to call it. Bites on the shimmy. Catches him walking back. I'm hoping that Tnatchie notices that Master Mike was walking back there. It looks like a little earlier he had a block string where he went to crouching medium kick to try to end the block string, which would have caught someone holding back, but he was a little out of range for it. One thing I'll say as a criticism, and I'll bring this up now, is I do feel like Tnatchie kind of, it works there. I do think I see Tnatchie go to slide a little more often than I think I would otherwise like. I know it's a really good button out of Bison, and there's spacing so you can make it comparatively safe. That setup just there, he came in behind the EX Psycho Blast, so that would have kept him safe. But I think there's a couple of situations where it ends up biting him. No anti-air. It's a difficult thing for Bison. His anti-airs aren't necessarily amazing. He'll go to those air to airs a lot, which is another thing that I find when Tnatchie is doing well. He gets those in airs really nicely. Big crush counter there for Master Mike. In this set, it looks like he goes to slide as an answer to the poison blasts. Tries to challenge with the reversal, or the EX dash rather. Yeah. So that first game. The first round goes wonderfully for Master Mike. He gets a good opening at round start and just mauls him in the corner while the poison damage ramps up, and that did a lot of work for him in that first round too. But both of those next rounds are really just kind of really strong Bison rounds. Get block stun, abuse them with frame advantage, and maul them. You don't have to necessarily have to take really huge risks. A lot of your buttons are plus. Mix them up, frame trap them. The threat of your throw is really dangerous. EX head stomp is good. He gets a lot of mileage out of EX head stomp here, meeting him in the air and just getting around a bunch of other stuff. If I recall correctly, this winter final set goes 3-0, I think. I think the reason that I have the opportunity to talk about 3 independent sets in this is because I think all 3 of these sets are comparatively short sets. So I found myself a little bit more time. See, this is something already we're seeing to talk about it. Tnatchie tends to play a little patient, and he's already playing this a lot more patiently. Going for the V-skill, sitting back outside of footsie range. Sitting here, he knows he's getting jumped in on a lot. He's the dash pressure, once again answering slide against the poison balls. Yeah, and Master Mike's gone to the air quite a bit because he knows Tnatchie doesn't have a great anti-air available to him. So Tnatchie's sitting in this range. Part of the reason he's made this adjustment to this more mid-ranged focused game is if Master Mike, he feels confident he has an answer to the Poison Blast because he has sweep. And even on a trade, the slide in the trade, he got the knockdown. He got the crush counter knockdown. He has frame advantage. He can do whatever he wants. If Master Mike tries to go to the air, he's now in a range where he can air-to-air jump strong. And by playing in this new range, this sort of, if he was about here, he has the ability to make an anti-air decision that hadn't been afforded to him in this more frame trap focused, upfront game. So that's already a bit of a micro adjustment. And then obviously he's got Psycho Crusher, so he can answer back anything full screen. Blocks the cross up again. His defense in this set is really good in terms of handling all these crazy Fong mix-ups. There it is again. Stands at that range. Master Mike goes to the air, gets answered back with the air target combo. Yep, nice EX head stomp. Take the round for himself again. Yeah, we saw the fruits of the matchup adjustment there, just in backing off a little bit. He still feels comfortable dealing with slide. He can walk in, Psycho access so much, jump air to air strong again. And the threat of answering Master Mike in the air is keeping Master Mike on the ground, which is affording Tnatchie this opportunity to take these small walks in and set up Psycho Axe, which really puts Bison in his sweet spot. Big damage. Hard knock. Has to blow the bar to get out. Does Master Mike. Oh, that's a huge jump-in combo. And then, oh no, what a drop! What is the mix? It's a good question. So that one I think was a fake cross-up. I think that first Poison Blast hit on the same side. And if I'm not mistaken, it's the only time one of those tricky setups ends up working out for Master Mike, that head stomp. So I had alluded to it a little bit earlier, and it comes up again because in the Lex match, it's Bison Guile. So there's a similar anti-fireball style in play. But if the Poison Blasts come out and he's got bar and he's got charge, he'll EX head stomp. Just get in. Otherwise, he'll slide and he'll take the trade on the crush counter. And it makes him reticent to throw these fireballs. And in choosing the spacing where he wants to throw the fireballs, look at the adjustment Master Mike has now made. He is not jumping anymore. If I recall correctly, this particular game ends up being pretty lame. There's a lot of this full screen Master Mike walking in behind the V skill poison because he doesn't want to give Tnatchie the opportunity to answer back in the way that he has these last two games. It doesn't end up working for him, spoiler alert. What an anti-air. And that's what I mean about saying, right there is what I mean about saying I think Tnatchie goes to slide a little bit because he misspaced it just a little bit there. If Master Mike had been more wary of it, he may have been able to whiff punish. But and it's a situation wherein the reason Tnatchie is fishing for it there is because he has V-Trigger and he wants to activate V-Trigger. And when you keep the game state in mind and you look at the resources available to your opponent, you can infer that that's the type of decision making that they're leaning into. If you look down and you see that somebody has V-Trigger, you know that they're going to shift their game plan towards activating it. And that's when you see things where people who are really conscious of this game state will completely change the way that they play to prevent you from getting that. You know, like you maul a character to force them to use V reversal. You put them in the position where they have to actively make that decision. Or even here, it could have been as simple as understanding that Tnatchie is going to fish for slide from these positions on the screen, slide into V-Trigger, and trying to neutral jump or backdash or stand in a spacing wherein it's not going to work for you, but that doesn't happen. Catches him holding up back with EX Scissor, does Tnatchie. And Psycho Crusher, just another way to get around these projectiles that Master Mike's putting up. And the frame traps he's getting with the Psycho Crusher to be able to make these negative situations and punish Master Mike for trying to take his turn with these sort of later Psycho Crusher cancels. And Tnatchie with the slightest of life leads, 20 seconds on the clock, and there's not really a reason for him to go in here. If I recall correctly, he does. Yep. There was really no reason for him to do that, but I think the reason that he did was because he knew he was getting to the corner and didn't want to surrender a whole lot more space. That V reversal after the side switch ends up being really critical because it puts Master Mike in this position where he can't walk back. And that's the lame, cheeky stuff. But the patience to sit on that and have that game go to timeout, you know, especially as a Bison player. Jeez, the air-to-air again, staying in that range to be able to keep Master Mike out of the air and force him on the ground. Stuck in the corner here. Challenges with the standing light kick. Goes for the shimmy. Master Mike doesn't bite. I feel like there hasn't really been much of a throw game in general. It's just been a lot of spacing and whiff punishment and frame traps, and then, oh yeah, catches him walking back there. So I said this earlier that I wanted for Tnatchie to, I can pause this now that the set's over, I wanted for Tnatchie to recognize that in a lot of these situations, Master Mike is walking back as an answer to get out of these frame trap / tick throw situations. Catches him with the low forward and ends up making the opportunity that takes him the set 3-0. So what we can go to next, I have this set up in a playlist. Yep. Do this real quick to make sure the time is all set up. But so what are the ultimate takeaways on that set? What we saw was solid frame traps. He had the answer to what Fong brought to the table in that he was willing to sit full screen. And from that position, he both had the tools to suppress Fang's poison fireball offense in slide, in EX head stomp, and with V-Trigger with Psycho Crusher. And it put him in the position to keep Master Mike on the ground, because if he went to the air, he was met with air target combo into big damage and a hard knockdown and letting Bison do all his Bison things. So what this means is he forces this ground game, where he was able to outplay him. So next, we're going to take a look at Lex versus Tnatchie from NLBC 158, jumping back a week. He didn't perform as well this week, and Lex takes this set. And then after this, we're going to jump back to NLBC 159, where these two have a run back, and it goes much better for Tnatchie that time. There we are. I fixed the thing. Hopefully it's not too janky of an edit when I make this work. Let me just make sure the timestamp is right. It is. Turn this down a hair. Watching Guile Bison is weird because I remember that being something like a 9-1 matchup in Street Fighter 4. It was one of those matchups that they talked about was, you know, just an auto loss. Bison simply couldn't do anything. Yep, using the Devil's Reverse. That's a great anti-air on that Devil's Reverse, actually. Yep, walking in behind that fireball. That's going to be a common thread across both 158 and 159's set. Wow, nice EX Devil's Reverse to get over the flash kick. Turn this down another hair. Psycho Crusher turns it into a frame trap and finds something just a pixel left on Lex here. Unfortunately, puts himself in the corner. No challenge, no bite on the frame trap either, and doesn't let go of down back to try to walk out of range. Setting up that V-skill. Sitting on a nice life lead. I mean, he doesn't even really need to walk forward here, but he's got V-trigger available to him. If he catches Lex doing literally anything, then it's going to go fine for him. I think, so that standing roundhouse that we saw with there, I think that was supposed to be a Psycho Crusher, but he had just run out of V-trigger, so he didn't get it. He does Psycho Blast at round start a couple of times. And just a mauling in the corner. This is, I had mentioned in the last game, you know, Bison doing Bison stuff. This is Guile doing Guile stuff. Just, what do you even do? Especially if you're Bison. I mean, if you're Bison in this situation, you have to... It's a rough spot. As a character like this, you know, you need to... Every time Guile has some sort of frame advantage or mix-up, you can try to challenge with standing short. If you get standing short counter hit, confirm into a special, that's one thing. Your other option is to spend your V reversal, because, I mean, I suppose you could standing short V-trigger cancel, but you're making the same risk that you would in a special cancel, so we'll call them the same category. You're choosing between taking a risk or burning your V-trigger, and with that little life, you can't really burn your V-trigger and expect the round to come back for you. I guess if you're playing the long game, Tnatchie was up a round, the V-trigger isn't going to carry over between rounds, so you can spend the V-reversal, and your worst case scenario is maybe you build a little bit of extra meter. But, you know, there isn't a whole lot that you can do in that situation besides maybe play for the next round. No anti-air. No anti-air again. Nice spacing to blow up that, what was it? It was either upside down kick or Sabat kick. Sorry, it's quite late when I'm recording this. It's been a long day. Going in behind that Psycho Blast, nice anti-air there from Lex. Yep, V-reversal on the crouch strong. Yep. Ooh, anti-air, not anti-air, reversal. So this is something across both of these games. Lex goes to reversal in these gaps pretty often. Tries to go for the air-to-air there, does Tnatchie, but it doesn't work. Wow, this is a bot kick over the slide, and then the upside-down kick to blow up the tech attempt. Walks him back to the corner. The whiff punish on the Sabat kick again. Sabat kick working out wonderfully for Lex. Slide into activation. Sitting on the Psycho Crusher, goes full screen. Yeah, in that range, it seems fairly consistent that what Tnatchie will do once he activates a V-trigger. I don't know that he goes for the command grab literally once in any of these games that we're going to look at. Instead, he regularly burns the Psycho Crushers, and sometimes he'll burn them both, you know, immediately, which works out pretty nicely because it's a 2-bar V-trigger, and he has a V-skill in a lot of these matchups that he can really use. Well, that's an unfortunate V-reversal. I'll pause this so we don't miss anything else. He has a V skill in the Guile matchup, and in particular, which is what we're going to look at in the next video, that he can use to actively generate V gauge, and it's a 2-bar V trigger. So if he activates as soon as he's able and finishes it very quickly by using the Psycho Crushers at the slightest provocation, he could very realistically generate 2 V triggers in one game. So it's not a bad thing to just use the tool as soon as you have it, and then perhaps get it again an additional time. If you don't use it, it's not like you get to carry it into the next round. But I do think it sort of limits his toolkit, because I feel like if you want your opponent to be threatened by an option, you need to establish the option as a threat. And the fact that I've not seen Tnatchie go to command grab, there's an inferred threat, because any player that knows what they're doing and is playing as a tournament player obviously understands that Bison in V-Trigger 2 gets access to a command grab. And that command grab has potentially a lot of damage behind it. But if you never go for it, and for an event like this where people know who their opponents are going to be and can be doing their homework, this is the type of thing that they're going to pick up on. They're going to watch these sets and go, wow, I don't know that I've ever seen Tnatchie do the command grab. Maybe I don't need to worry about it. Wake up reversal again. I think that was regular reversal too. Just caught Tnatchie being greedy. Nice counter poke there. Gets himself a little bit of breathing room. And EX reversal again. This ends up being, I feel like, one of the stories of this set versus the next set is the way Tnatchie plays around flash kick. In that, in this set, it almost seems as though he doesn't. And in the run back set, spoiler alert, he finds a better answer. Air to air there from Guile. Ooh, that's a big crush counter there for him. Nice screen position here. Devil's reverse. Crossed him up a couple of times. This ends up being a really nice round. Does he build another bar? He does. Yep, gets the EX scissor for the round. That standing jab challenge on landing frames was pretty good. Air to air there again from Lex. Oof, the trade on the in-air? Wow, crouch fierce. I wonder if that was a accidental input, if he wanted something else. Yep, clapping back with the skill of his own. And we're going to see, it makes sense that in that spot he'd rely on it because he was so close to generating his V-trigger. Yep, watch for it. It's going to be, yep, oh Jesus, reversal. Jump back jab. Yeah, I mean, watch for the Psycho Crusher. He's in the range where he wants to Psycho Crusher. Wow, nice. Yep. And this is more of the kind of thing that I do like in watching Tnatchie's play, is that in this situation he's not overextending. He has this additional resource behind him, and he's putting the onus in your court to make something happen. He has the slightest of life lead, which is all you really need to be able to try to take that position. But now Lex has to go in, and Tnatchie challenges at the wrong time. Yeah, and I think when I watched that the first time, it was a. I think when I watched that the first time, I slowed it down. It was a wake up stand short. So what's the ultimate takeaway of that first showing of Lex versus Tnatchie? Well, Tnatchie wasn't able to effectively shut down Lex's early fireball game, which enabled Lex to get in of his own volition because he was able to walk in behind those V-skill enhanced sonic booms. When Tnatchie did get in, the gaps in his pressure were abused with reversals, and he simply wasn't able to open Lex up. He didn't go to throw early enough or often enough. And like I alluded to during the set, the fact that he doesn't seem to go for the command grab when he does pop V-Trigger 2 removes that as a threat, and it means ultimately, what do you have to fear? Just hold down back. There isn't much else there. And that's sort of a lot of what that set looked like, but on top of Lex just picking great spots to hit upside down kick and sabat kick to go over all of those low pokes that were coming out from Tnatchie. There was a lot of situations wherein he would go for a slide or something, and the upside down kick or the support kick would just make it whiff entirely and get a big conversion off that counter hit. Now, in NLBC 159, they had a run back, and I want to take a second and see how different it looks. Sort of a similar opening here already. Challenging the forward momentum a little bit more. That was a late attempt at a jump back jab, I think. Yeah. Right now looking largely the same, but challenging that forward momentum a little bit more already is Tnatchie. And that ends up being, I think that Psycho Crusher is brilliant for two decisions. Obviously, one, it's a cross up. You're going to get somebody with it. You know, it's the mix up. The other thing is it steals the dominant position and puts Lex's back to the corner. The second you saw the Psycho Crusher, it seemed as though what was more important, even if it didn't hit cross up and it ended up being safe, Tnatchie's out of the corner. And now he's got the momentum behind him. He doesn't necessarily have the life lead, but it's not an insurmountable difference. He's got the gray life piling. A poke will do it. Oof, sweeps the scissor kick. Double reverse plus frames into plus frames. Yep, that jump back, once again going for it. Psycho Crusher through the fireballs, and he blocks the reversal. I think this ends up being the biggest thing about why Tnatchie ends up winning this set, is that he seems to have, I assume he went back and watched the tapes or something and recognized the way that his gaps were being abused by Lex. And once again, we see this looks pretty similar to one of the rounds that we could have seen at the previous week's event. An upside down kick blowing up a back throw attempt. Great round. This is just a Guile round. That's what Guile does to you. Hits you once, hits you twice, gets you in the corner, mixes you to death. Doesn't even need to walk back to shimmy you. He can do it with upside down kick. Blowing up the anti-air attempt with the Devil's Reverse. Blowing up the gap in the frame trap, once again, is Lex going for that reversal. He's spending a lot of bar on it, too. Reversal, the gap again? But it's the kind of thing that later on in this set, Tnatchie becomes extremely wise to. Oof, just far enough away that he can't do it. And then baits and challenges the uppercut there. I think the adjustments in this set end up ultimately being, partly it's that Tnatchie is wise to Lex going for these reversals. Perhaps in the last set, if he had wisened up to it sooner, some of the opportunities that he did get that he lost due to a reversal could have been game-changing. But here he's wise to it. He's also doing a better job of frustrating Lex a little more when he tries to move forward, it seems. Nice whiff punish. That little micro walk back to make the spot kick whiff. Yep, and back to full screen, Devil's Reverse. This is something, I mean, we saw it pretty similarly in the Fong matchup, that if he doesn't feel like he still has the pressure, he'll just go back to full screen. And then head stomp or Devil's Reverse in if he sees you doing something that he thinks he can punish. Oof, a little late on the meaty. Nice jumping over the fireball, though. And the cross-up Psycho Crusher again. Oh my god, the chaining of the plus frames. You had to know. I don't know how Tnatchie didn't know that there was going to be a reversal there. I looked down at his bar and said, "This is going to be a flash kick any second now." Ooh, nice counter hit, but finds the whiff punish there. That ends up being another story about this particular set. Is it feels like Lex ends up being just a little bit out of range from where he wants to be very often in this set of theirs. Seems like he always just needs to be a micro step closer for his combo to work. Tnatchie's keep away is also way more intense here. He's just at the second, and part of this is very possibly an additional adjustment around him reading and recognizing that Lex is going to uppercut in a lot of these gaps is in situations where he might try to sneak in a standing medium kick or a crouching medium kick or something to use as sort of a sit the hell down button or as a counter poke. Lex is going for flash kick if he reads that. And another thing that Tnatchie could do besides just waiting and punishing it is just to backdash, which obviously the flash kick is so much recovery, it works, but it serves this dual purpose of immediately entirely resetting to neutral. And what we're seeing largely is that the second it resets to neutral, he just goes back to full screen. Starts whiffing buttons and charging head stomp and waiting for Lex to throw a fireball. Because Lex wants to approach behind a fireball because he wants to cover his offense. Challenges after the fireball whiffs. Nice air to air there from Lex. And once again, the Sabat kick or the upside down kick or whichever the hell one it was catches the backdash, and Lex needs to take a micro step forward because he's not in range for the combo. And Tnatchie challenges because he knows that Lex is walking in on his frame advantage. Challenges the anti-air of his own, does Lex. And we see it again, just going back to full screen here, does Tnatchie, especially once he has Psycho Crusher stocked. He just goes back to full screen. Oh geez, that's the whole game already. Yeah. Yeah, so he just goes back to full screen. He doesn't want to deal with, being in that range where Guile's going to do like low strong fireball or anything like that. He doesn't want to play that game. He's got the life advantage. Guile has to come to him. Lex is establishing that he's trying to go in behind these fireballs. He's either dashing in behind them or trying to jump over them, and Tnatchie has the answer. And the answer is V-Skill, or if he's got V-Trigger, Psycho Crusher, largely the same as what we saw against Master Mike. And in suppressing that fireball game, it takes away this element of what Lex and in the winner's final set, Mastermind were trying to do in order to round out their game plan. And that was sort of their foundational thing, was if they're respecting my fireball, it gives me this ability to get in around his buttons. And if Tnatchie has the answer to the fireball game, then that means you need to contend with his buttons. And Tnatchie stands at these ranges where if you try to dash in, he has time to react to you dashing or walking forward to challenge that space in front of him. And if you're jumping, he has time to meet you in the air. And with the air target combo from Bison, meeting you in the air is debatably just as bad an answer. It's not like other characters where you get an air to air and it just means you're in the scramble on the ground when you both land. No, he gets a full combo into a knockdown with meaty pressure, and now you're in the Bison blender, and that's not what you want. And that's going to be it for me. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and if you are interested in Tnatchie's play or any of these other players, make sure you turn into CT Mass Battle on May 4th of 2019. That is this coming Saturday. And I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch. That's it from me. Peace out.